ease your rookies in. So tell me more.
Yeah, so we have three rookies, obviously, as you guys know. So we have Ricoris and Jazar, Blaver, who obviously we don't have a much of best of 3 or 5 experience right now. So more stage experience are super valuable for us. So I'm happy with that.
And speaking to that stage experience, I want to ask you a little bit more about your choice of Svenskeren over Golden Glue for that sub position. You mentioned that you wanted to choose it for the more versatile jungle. So what does having that flexibility in the jungler, or in the jungle, excuse me, what kind of advantage does it give Cloud9 coming into Worlds?
So Blaver is the type of guy just aggressive and just jumping in. Whenever you see the enemy champion, you just flash in, right? So in that kind of play style, it was worked in the NA, but in the top class teams are like just smacking him, you know, like, oh, did you flash in? Bam. So definitely we need more experienced jungler like the Svenskeren, which is they can coaching each other's and they can learn each other's. Was pretty good, and Golden Glue obviously is supporting to Jensen right now.
And last year, Cloud9's performance and plans was pretty outstanding. You guys didn't drop a single game and went undefeated throughout the entire play-in stage. So how confident are you guys that you're going to repeat that success?
Playing stages are pretty confident for me, because anyway, I'm assuming we are a better team in this league, but obviously they are super good. They have a Region 4 came here, and also we have 3 rookies, so I'm not disrespect to any other the playing teams, and also we are trying to best for win today.
Well, Reaper, thank you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Wonderful interview there. He echoed what you said. Well, Blaver sometimes just likes to flash in, and he said, well, we're not disrespecting any of our opponents, and that's really what it's going to come down to for me for C9. These rookies have to help carry the legacy that Cloud9 has at Worlds. This is a team that's been at every single World Championship since their inception, so maybe that plays a bit in their head as to, okay, we have to prove ourselves also in that matter.
Yeah, luckily they still have Sneaky with them, who has been the consistent rock this entire time, and hopefully they lean on a fair amount here. They also have Jensen coming back, who has changed his playstyle depending on who he's playing with. When it is Blaber, we talk about things like the Galio and the Zillion. When it's Svenskeren, he can play more aggressive, and the whole team kind of keys off who's in the jungle and how the rookies are playing, and they do a great job supporting them.
And one thing we've heard from time and again is that Zeyzal is a calm mind at the support position. So if there's ever an issue about people getting too hypey, I'm sure that he's going to reel them back in.
Well, that's maybe what I want to jump to immediately when we talk about Kaboom, the team that comes back to Worlds since their last appearance in 2014. And well, they're coming back against a team that they helped get to the quarterfinals. We've set up that story, but I'd like to talk a bit about the lanes that we're looking at and what is important for this team. They have been through all of it already, right? They've been relegated. They're now back, and this is the guys they have to do it with. So talk to me about that guy you like to play see playing so much, Chitan, up versus the Cloud9 bottom lane, Raz.
That's where I see a lot of our focus is going to be in this game. That a lot of the jungle pressure is going to be coming to the bottom lane, and Ranger as a jungler is going to be looking to counter gank a little bit more so he can keep the bottom lane up to par. If that happens, Chitan is set up to succeed, then all right, aces, you're going into the team fight stage and you're already at a good point.
But is that the only boon they have versus C9?
I think it's their best bet, just because Sneaky has had a little bit of an underwhelming year so far, hasn't been getting too many resources. That usually goes top or mid, so it does kind of line up with Kaboom's strengths, so I would expect them to play through that.
Overall, your expectations are that C9 should have no trouble at all with this matchup?
You might get surprised and you might get hit once in the jaw, but as long as you're ready for a little bit of first blood and some craziness, and then it's a long game, you should be fine.
Is it a glass jaw, though?
Oh,
is
not
it a glass jaw?
We'll see. Well, the stakes are incredibly high. You do not want to lose your first game at the World Championship. You have to win it, both for Cloud9 and Kaboom. The stakes are through the roof. We can see Lowell Park there, so let's hand it over to Caster June to kick off Worlds 2018.
전 세계 리그 오브 레전드 플레이어 여러분 안녕하십니까? 자, 이곳은 대한민국 서울, 서울의 롤파크입니다. 이곳에서 우리 모두가 1년 동안 기다려왔던 2018 월드 챔피언십의 그 화려한 낙이 열리게 됩니다. 앞으로 NCK를 책임질 수많은 슈퍼스타들이 탄생할 이곳 뜻깊은 롤파크에서 여러분께 리그 오브 레전드의 새로운 역사를 전할 수 있게 돼서 진심으로 영광스럽게 생각합니다.
그동안 그 어떤 지역도 LCK만큼 여러 차례 우승컵을 들어올리지 못했습니다. 그 누구도 LCK만큼 상대편에게 위압감을 주지 못했습니다. 그렇기 때문에 대한민국에서 펼쳐지는 월드 챔피언십이라면 그 숨막히는 여정의 시작의 그 순간을 함께할 자리, 이보다 더 좋은 곳이 있을까요? 롤파크 오신 여러분, 다시 한번 2018 월드 챔피언십의 성공을 위해서 큰 환호와 함성을 부탁드리겠습니다. 그렇죠, 감사합니다. 네, 이런 분위기 좋습니다. 자, 그러면 백스테이지에서 준비하고 있는 성수형 캐스터, 그쪽의 준비 상황은 어떻습니까?
그렇습니다. 이거 백스테이지에서는 지금 클라우드9과 카붐이 첫 번째 경기를 위해서 기다리고 있습니다. 자, 2018 월드 챔피언십 그 영광의 막을 올릴 준비 되셨습니까? 자, 박수 함께 두 팀을 지금부터 만나보겠습니다. 먼저 북미의 표 클라우드9 그리고 브라질의 카붐. 롤파크 사계신 여러분, 그리고 전 세계의 소환사 여러분, 이제 경기를 시작하기 위한 단 한 개의 말만 남겨놓고 있습니다.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay! Welcome to Summer's Limited!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Worlds 2018. If we have not yet met, I am Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, joined by my partner in crime, at least here for day one, Jake Spawn Tiberi. This is our first time casting together, my friend, and I am excited.
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow, but this should be an absolutely great game to kick off Worlds 2018. Cloud9, such a young roster coming into this, but you have to remember that Kaboom went through the exact same thing at MSI Play-ins. They dropped both of their games on day number 2. They were only able to pick up that one victory, and whilst they went undefeated for the rest of the play-in stage, it was not enough to get them through. They need to start well today.
Getting into Champion Select now to start things off for Worlds 2018. Let's see what they're going to go about banning. Vel'Koz and Shen banned away by Cloud9. Kaboom banning the Alistar and the Camille. Vel'Koz, one of those champions you don't always see bans against, but sometimes in these specific situations, the enemy team might pull it out as a special kind of pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Chitan was willing to pick that up in the AD carry position, or the traditional marksman role, I guess. Really good poke, and Kaboom as a lineup, if they do get Baron, are able to exploit the siege in lanes very well. that's something that Sneaky probably not used to. Just get it off the board.
And I like seeing Cloud9 adapt to that big, different style of play immediately and get it off the table. North America had a tragically difficult time against Heimerdinger in the bottom lane during Rift Rivals, and making sure they don't have to play against something tricky like that, I think their heads are in the right place. It's Akali, it's Kindred the last couple of bans, as Cloud9 will first pick the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, get rid of some of Blabber's more aggressive picks, but Cloud9 just need to come in with a team-fighting slow tempo comp. I think that if you just build the game time up, as Mark was saying on the desk, you know, get the rookies used to this stage and just slowly play your way in. You are more skillful. You come into this lineup, you are the heavy favorites. There needs to be a good early game for Kaboom to latch onto. They need to be able to take over that top side of the map, start knocking down turrets for them to have success.
Well, if you want to take over the top lane, you're talking about heavies. They're bringing in the big guns. It's Urgot for Xantins, 3 picks on this during his play in summer, 100% win rate on the champion. Especially for a team like Kaboom that likes to control Rift Heralds and have that top side of the map, this could be big.
And this is something that I was expecting to see as well. The Lucian pick up immediately for their AD carry. Chiton is aggressive. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, this guy, his support pretty much just picks saved Chiton champions. You know, big Tahm Kench, big Braum player, because he's willing to fly into the backline, will look to be super aggressive, and I think that this is a lane that now Sneaky has to be aware of.
And on the opposite side, Cloud9 now with their second pick, you first pick the champion for your long-standing veteran, but now your second pick goes over to the guy, one of those rookies, one of those newer players that Aatrox picked up for Licorice, the man who has been the rock for this team throughout this split. Cloud9 utilized a 10-man roster, swapping players in and out from the main roster and the academy. Licorice being the exception to that rule, never got replaced by his academy counterpart, has helped carry this team through rough times, and putting him on something like the Aatrox will enable him to make some plays.
Yeah, it certainly should, and I mean, just has such a solid early game, now has been buffed to have some more late game power on the current patch. So I think that, you know, that's a very smart pickup. I think that Cloud9 right now are just trying to secure some strong lanes. Kai'Sa, not necessarily the strongest laner, so they do need somewhere for this Xin Zhao to be able to play around.
Xin Zhao locked in for the jungle of Cloud9. The response from Kaboom, picking up the Olaf in the jungle. Another strong early jungler, does well having those pushing lanes.
And I was actually chatting to Vedius off camera earlier, and I said, what do you think that the jungle meta is going to be? You know, are we going to see Gragas, Sejuani? Because a lot of these teams are now starting to pick up Xin Zhao. Lee Sin seeing a resurgence. Olaf, another one of those picks that has very good early game clear. And I think that the fact that we're seeing Blabber take Xin Zhao means that his invade is going to be so strong. If he is able to get a pushing lane for Jensen, get into that top side of the jungle, he could really give this Olaf some problems.
And I applauded Cloud9 earlier for banning out the Vel'Koz, keeping that away from Chiton, disabling the ability to play that strategy for Kaboom. And right now, I like what we're seeing from Kaboom going into the second part of the bans. They're saying, we know Blabber is the aggro jungler. We know he likes to flash in like Reaper was talking about. Let's stop Jensen's ability to support that as well. Ban out the Galio, keep that off the table.
Yeah, I'd expect maybe a Zillion ban to come through here as well. Just continue that oppressive style. They've already got their damage threats on this lineup. They don't necessarily need one in the mid lane. Jensen still has Orianna potentially, so maybe not a pick that they're going to look to take away. But this Cloud9 lineup, when they do have avenues to play through, look good. The problem is that when the mid game slows down, when they have to make those tricky decisions around their macro play, around their Baron setup, it doesn't necessarily look all that clean. And whilst that's not an area that I expect Kaboom to be able to punish them, they are a very good Baron team themselves.
Now, one thing I want to point out here that is probably, well, if nothing else, it's interesting. Cloud9 banned out Braum, final ban of the draft. That is easily Zeyzal's most played champion. 11 plays on the Braum, but they're picking up the fact that Kaboom probably wanted to grab that as their first pick in the second half here. They keep that away from them instead. Both players are going to have to go on to something else, and for the side of Kaboom, it's going to be the Pyke.
Yeah, and I think it's just because Lucian Braum is such a potent lane.
It's so strong.
If you're going to look to play through a bottom lane, you probably couldn't ask for something better than a Lucian Braum, maybe a Xayah Rakan, something around those lines. Pyke makes a lot of sense. Just such a strong champion on the current patch.
I mean, Pyke's a playmaker. He has a lot of kill potential at level 6. Lucian's very strong. We already talked about how aggressive Chitan is. And you mentioned how Kai'Sa isn't exactly this dominant laner. If this Kaboom bottom lane could really go off, if they can find the spark that starts the fire, these are two champions that roll one hell of a snowball.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, especially if the Leona's picked up here, that will only go further to kind of perpetuate this. Both of these bottom lanes, these supports, are so good at going forward. They're both pretty crappy at going backwards and peeling to their AD carry, to be honest. So I think that we will now see some fireworks around that bottom lane, especially with a Ryze, especially with a Xin Zhao on the Cloud9 lineup. You can isolate Licorice. He's going to be fine in the 1v1 and really play around sneaky here if you want to.
Ryze picked up also means you've got a lot of roam, rotation, collapse, cutoff possibility with that ultimate coming into play. As Kaboom has one more champion to pick up. They were hovering the Zillion there for a moment, thinking about that one, but decide they want a bit more firepower instead. They go for a big AoE monster in the form of the Victor.
I mean, just fantastic scaling coming out of Victor. He was buffed. His augmentations are now cheaper as you go through the game, so still look for Jinketo to be able to pick those up. Not a great early game laner. I think that, 2-second snare coming through from Ryze means that, the cleanse pickup is going to have to be there. This is an area now where Cloud9 can look towards Jensen, can look towards Blabber in the early game. But as that lane progresses, Victor has legitimate one-shot potential against 80 carries that have, sub 500 range. And Kai'Sa really does have to get all up in your grill to be able to be effective in these team fights. So Sneaky going to have to play on that edge of, aggressive enough to be able to take over, but not so aggressive that he gets double lift. Like just one-shot Victor in the face.
We try to forget about that one over here. We try
not back where I'm from.
We try to delete that memory over here on this side of the world. We don't want to remember that. But one thing that I'm looking at going into this game, for those of you who weren't here for our check-in earlier on in the analyst desk, Spawn has the very fun fact of reminding all of us, how many kills was it that Kaboom showed us on their last international game?
75.
75.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. There was a top lane Rammus and triple AD carry on the other team, so, potentially counterpicked. Of course, that game wasn't for anything, but the impressive games before that was the ability to fight back versus the Direwolf. So I think that this is a lineup that has shown great grit and determination, and they have been very successful domestically until they got into best of fives, where they have gone 3-2 in both of their finals. So this Kaboom lineup, if they start well, I actually have a lot of faith in to be able to make it through this play-in stage.
And going up against Cloud9, a team that, as we saw earlier, some of the discussion about this team was how they had such a rough early start to their summer split. Things were going bad. They were dead last. Week 4, Week 5, a summer split. They turn it around. They go on a massive win streak in a best-of-1 environment. They know how to play those games as well. And because both of these compositions feel so similar, strong early game junglers, scrappy top laners, bot lane supports that just want to go in, there's some explosive potential in this game.
Yeah, there certainly is. And I think the other thing you do have to point out for both of these lineups is how well coached they are. Reaped, coach of the split in North America, had the faith of the organization behind him, now repaid it, as you said, with that 8-game win streak. But also on the side of Kaboom, you have Hero, previously Team WE, previously the Chaogu Reapers, both very good teams within the LPL ecosystem, has brought this young lineup up, and I think that they play their style of League of Legends incredibly well.
And that's something that I think always comes into the conversation. When you hit big international tournaments, you only really get to see these big international tournaments twice a year with MSI and Worlds, and so often its styles collide. And can you play to your style going up against these different ways of playing League of Legends? And all too often, you see teams try to change up what they're doing to copy what they think is a superior style, but sticking to your guns can just bring you a lot of success.
Well, I actually think that's what both of these teams do really well. You've got Sneaky playing things like Quinn, things like Twitch. You've got the Hecarim innovation in the top lane. You have that aggressive jungle position. So I think that Cloud9 certainly have their own style, even in a major region. And Kaboom, at the same time, the aggression, the control around Baron, how quickly they end games once they have picked up that objective. You have to say that they're also willing to stick to their guns and play through that strength as well.
Speaking of sticking to your guns, you got to talk about the two guys on your screen right now, Chitan and Sneaky. the comparison between these two, Sneaky being this long-standing member of Cloud9. Cloud9 has had 6 Worlds appearances in a row now. Kaboom now being the second team from the CBLOL to appear on the world stage. Well, the first team to appear a second time on the world stage, I should say instead, but both of these players are so critical to the way their teams play. Jensen trading there with Chinkato in the mid lane. And talking about these two, one thing about Chinkato, this guy has some solid stats. He puts up some good numbers, but his kills and assists at 15 minutes are very low. He's a passive farmer in the early game, and I want to see if Cloud9 can exploit that as Blabber decides he wants to invest some time here in the top side.
Yeah, it certainly did. Really nice clear out of Blabber. Double Scuttle Crab for the level 3 into the gank top lane. This should work.
See if he can find any sort of a summoner spell pop, if nothing else. Zantin's gonna be in some trouble there, taking a lot of damage. Chain's looking to force him back, has to flash away, still loses a lot of the health.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit disrespectful from Zantin. I think he should have just flashed at the start, tried to preserve some of that health, because now he's had to burn all the corrupting pot charges. That wave is gonna push into his turret, and that gank, as soon as you were that far behind the Urgot, was always going to be a successful gank. So now his lane's just in a horrible position.
Not to mention, he got him at level 2. He got him before he had the ability to dash away or throw Blabber back into the range of the turret. It was very well timed from him. So Zantin's is just kind of not having the best time. Now, 12 CS compared to 23. Of course, he has a few waiting on him there that he'll be able to farm up as Jensen will chase Chinkato down towards the bottom part of the lane here. Ranger moving around, but Jensen low on mana, isn't going to be trying to pursue this fight any further.
So this is a good read from Ranger. He knows that the Xin Zhao is a much better Scuttle Crab taker than him. He farms much quicker, however, on the Olaf, and once he sees the CS topside, he knows that there's a Raptor camp up, he knows that there is also Krugs up, and the bottom lane has so much priority, so the Pike's going to get there first. So I think that the ability to duck in, take away that camp, sure, is it the same value as a Flash? Definitely not, but he's going to have to take those small victories to be able to farm this Olaf up and, you know, become that mid-game powerhouse.
And when both of your champions revolve around the early and mid-game, I mean, nobody's telling tales about the Xin Zhao and Olaf late-game carry potential. Every single one of those decisions, every single one of those reads will mean that much more, because it means at that critical point in the game, you will be more relevant, you will be more farmed up, and you'll be able to do what your team drafted you to do. As Jensen will utilize the teleport here, coming back into mid lane after going back to base, purchasing the tier. Of course, that's the price break point. Rise wants to make sure he hits. The Victor would love to get the first Hex Tech upgrade when he goes back.
Yeah, absolutely would. And I think that the big thing for the Rise is, you know, with the corrupting pot start, now just has such a safe laning phase. You know, with the tier, gonna be a gank.
Finds a little bit of damage onto Licorice, but honestly, nothing to really write home about. Licorice doesn't have to spend any summoner spells on that one.
Yeah, Blabber also took a look mid lane, you know, with that 2-second snare, as we said. Very nice hook, however.
Oh, Rehab looking to start this one up. Zazel's going to be in some trouble, taken rather low, doesn't blow any summoner spells, none coming out from the other side either. Chitan had shop, Sneaky had not.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Teleport on the 80 carry is something that, you know, we've seen a lot this year. Sneaky obviously going with the heal. That's why there was no flash coming out of Riev to guarantee that stun and try and follow up for the kill. But the ability to force back and now potentially chunk out Sneaky, this is something that Cloud9 actually did against Team Liquid. They were able to pick up that first kill versus Double F. Instead, Riev trying to go for a roam towards mid lane, see if he can catch himself a Jensen.
We know Pyke is a very adept roamer, can set up plenty of plays, has a lot of mobility around the map. But Riev won't find any success on that one right now. Instead, it's Chitan who's just completely controlling this bottom part of the map right now, zoning Sneaky away even from that outermost turret. As Riev's going to rotate around, make sure that Zazel's not able to find an angle onto Chitan here. Chitan finds some damage onto Sneaky, but eats a couple turret shots for his trouble. With Zazel back in the lane now, he'll utilize those extra Relic Shield procs to make sure Sneaky can farm up. And for Sneaky's sake, he wants to just farm this all up, get back to base, get himself a buy, but Zazel's going to be going in, looking to force this fight out. Sneaky in some trouble, having to flash away, ignite down onto both AD carries. Zazel still looking to find the fight on this one, won't be able to get the damage. Voidseeker does not connect with that enemy AD carry, but they're both so hungry for blood.
Yeah, and the reason Zazel went for that fight is because Chitan did not have mana. He's got himself the shield, he's got himself the Vamp Scepter. He can stay in this lane and sustain up as long as he wants, but without mana, I mean, Lucian's that gunslinger. He just needs it to be able to go for the early skirmishes. I think that was a great read from Zazel, but the guaranteed hook coming out of Riev was just what kind of turned that one around. Overall, pretty big victory, to be honest, for Kaboom, because they're going to get a second shot into both members of their bottom lane.
And while they do have the second shop compared to just the one shop, on the side of Cloud9, Sneaky did go back after having farmed up enough to get the BF sword price breakpoint, so it's not as bad as it could be if he would have been shy of that and had to settle for smaller itemization. Wouldn't have been as good if he had to go for long swords or a dagger for that Storm Razor. Back in the mid lane though, Jinkato maintaining a slight EXP advantage over Jensen, who will hit level 7 after 1 or 2 more minions. Don't make a liar out of me. There we go. Rise hits the level 7, and remember, I am still watching, especially Jensen's rotations, being on a champion that has the ultimate that enables that, going up against a player who specifically doesn't get that involved in the fights early on in the game. Can Jensen find an advantage through there? But right now it seems to be Kaboom, who are trying to set up a play with support and jungler together.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Riev has just been out of his lane a couple of times, now picks up the Moby boost even before upgraded tier, just shows what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to team up on the map. Big surprise for me right now is the fact that Blabber is like 3 camps up on a Xin Zhao, who shouldn't be able to out-farm an Olaf at this stage of the game. So, you know, complimented Ranger earlier for his lead, but has spent a lot of time looking for these ganks where Olaf probably not going to be all that successful without the hard CC of maybe, you know, the Pike coming with him, potentially the Urgot in the top lane, but now that at level 6 is there for Licorice, that's a very hard kill.
As you can see, Ranger and Jinkato wanting to rotate over to secure this Scuttle Crab for the side of Kaboom, only to find that Licorice has already taken the crab and managed to get himself out just in time. Right back up to the top lane. Misses a couple minions to the turret there. But keep that Scuttle Crab away from your opponents. Always going to be nice. Kaboom, no play towards the blue buff, just dropping down the ward in that enemy jungle instead. 8 minutes into the game, still no first blood. It's a 300-400 gold advantage for the side of Cloud9, who have found that lead through the farm of the jungle and the top lane. More violence going down here on the bottom side. Zeyzal not able to find that ulti that he wanted onto Riev. Looking to go in before that enemy support hit level 6. Cheaton gets some good damage with the piercing light, but it won't go much further.
Yeah, and that was really interesting because Riev was the one starting that up, right? Very confident. The fact that he doesn't have ultimate versus double ultimate to look for the fight, but the mobility of Pike just means he's so hard to tie down. And I think that this bottom lane, you know, being up in CS against the veteran of Sneaky is going to be an important factor, because if you don't make Lucian work at this stage of the game, he's just not working. He is so low mobility, you know, he's going to get blown up, and potentially going to be a gank coming through here from Blabber. The early game vision from both of these teams has honestly been quite good, and just isolated these junglers meant that it is just going to be that farming battle. And I think that that would suit Cloud9. As we said, they've got the composition where they just want to be able to send Jensen into that side lane, create pressure, good team fight coming out of the core. And I think that Kaboom now have to start thinking about where do we look for that opening to be able to get some advantage in this early game.
And I'm going to go back to what you mentioned during Champion Select about how when you compare Sneaky and Cheaton and the explosive capabilities of these bottom lanes, how you would expect the mid laners to look down there, leave top lane on an island. Well, that island is flying the Cloud9 flag right now, because Licorice is up 20 CS in this vacuum after getting that first gank from his jungler. These are not fights that are ever going the way of Xantins, and Cloud9 perfectly happy with that situation right now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think, you know, that just speaks volumes to how good Licorice is at the moment. He's one of those players that filling the shoes of Impact is always going to be a tough ask, and that was the last international top laner that we saw. Actually, Xantins, Mike again.
Blabber wants to go in on this one, does find a little bit of damage, looking to find the knock up there as well. Wind becomes lightning, makes its way onto the Urgot, but Xantins still gets back. Enemy jungler topside though, it's a good read from Kaboom, recognizing the ability to go for the Earth Drake. Grab that one for themselves.
I actually think it was a flip. I actually think they saw Ranger go into the pit. He started up Dragon. They were like, we don't have priority down here. We don't want to be fighting with our Kai'Sa right now. Instead, let's get all this damage on the top lane turret. That might even fall down. First turret plus a Rift Herald, something that Cloud9 are notoriously bad at taking, by the way, is going to be a massive boon for the top side of the map.
Licorice just fine. Proxy farming between the turrets. Doesn't need his own wave. Aatrox's abilities do so much damage, you can just completely nuke the wave down there. As now it's Jensen thinking about coming up to the top side here. If Xantins goes too close to this and that turret's about to fall, Cloud9 can definitely collapse onto him here. Although he has a dash built into the kit, it doesn't go very far, and you root yourself for half a second beforehand. He won't save it. Cloud9 are going to find themselves back-to-back objectives, the turret into the Rift Herald.
And you have to really applaud Jensen's map movement there. Didn't pop himself over the wall with the blast plan, go for the gank, because the turret was a real objective, and he knew that would leave Blabber exposed, and actually they go in.
Bottom side is going to be Chain CC into the damage, baby. They blow